That's enough, I'm scared now.
Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from Sort of Interesting, and today on a glorious autumn morning you are joining me on board good old Narrowboat Abel's Ark. And well, as this is video number 50 in the Abel's Ark series, not including all those years I lived on Narrowboat Tilly, this you might think is going to be a special video where we do something amazingly exciting to celebrate. Nope, I'm going to show you the absolute core of real boat life today. And that, my friends, is just day-to-day things that you would do in any other circumstance. Let's get excited! So, standing on the stern here, you first of all may appreciate this amazing surrounding we've got, but we're not here to appreciate the romantic nature of life on the canals. This is a practical video about practical matters. So you may notice I've got the stern cover down. Oh, didn't realise that was wet there. And that's basically because the last few days it's been beautiful weather, so it's just been nice to sit on the seats out here with the open air around you. And especially after the days before that, it was a little bit wet and looking like winter was already upon us. So before I get stuck into doing odd jobs on board and sweeping up and cleaning and things like that, what I will normally do is turn the engine on, and that's a simple process I'll show you in a second. But the reason I'll leave the engine running while I'm getting on with little jobs here and there is because the engine charges the batteries and heats the water. So a lot of people have said over the years, or over the last year, oh, why don't you get solar panels and so on? And as much as I would love that, there's also the fact that I would still have to run the engine to heat the water. So I would then have to get a boiler and stuff on board as well. And again, it starts to become a lot of work when I've got a solution built right in, which is simply to go heat for a few seconds, turn it over to start, and there we go. That's now heating the water, charging the batteries, and we're all good. So one of the things I will often do at this point is just double check the dials here to make sure nothing untoward's going on, that the pressure's okay, that there's not maybe a water leak or something like that, that the batteries are being charged correctly, and of course that the temperature doesn't go wild and shoot off to the end of the dial there. Oh, look at that! I didn't realise that. Absolute perfect moment. We've just hit 200 hours of runtime, exactly. That's how brand new this engine is, my friends. We've literally just hit 200 hours of running time. As you may have seen in a recent video, this is a brass tube full of waterproof grease, which you twist the handle, which forces the grease down into the propeller shaft and the stern gland. So it basically keeps the water outside of the boat and the dryness inside of the boat, hopefully. So that's obviously something that I check every so often and make sure that it's not leaking too much, and then just give the handle a little twist just to force a bit more grease down into that location. And another way that you can check that is by pressing the bilge pump button there and looking over the side, and you can see there's not a drop of water coming out, so that's absolutely spot on. So I'm about to put the stern cover back up because I'll be going out later on today and not coming back until probably later in the evening. Then I'll be in work for the next couple of days too. So if the weather does change, which is forecast to be mixed, but who can believe the weather forecast these days? So I thought if I put it up now, obviously if I turned up and it was pouring down at 10 PM tonight, I'm going to start hassling and fiddling about with it in the pitch black then. So it's just done then. It will get extremely warm in there though during the daytime, but as you can see, this, I mean, even this speeded up footage is maybe a 2-minute process to get the whole thing up and ready to go. So like I say, might as well just do it here in the daytime and the daylight rather than start faffing around with it in the evening. Oh, it sounded like a dog whistle outside. Well, my giddy aunt. So then, my friends, as I settle into this rather comfortable position for filming, it's just something I want to note here, that as this is a video all about the mundane day-to-day elements of boat life, that amazingly, you may or may not believe this, but I suppose given this is the internet, there's a lot of you probably will believe this. In the past, when I've dared to suggest that boat life might not all be completely perfect summer cruising 365 days a year, that people have got rather upset at that and unsubscribed and given me grief. But again, that's just the nature of the internet, and you're always going to get a few like that. So again, just take this as a video illustrating that boat life has a lot of normal elements to it, of cleaning, doing simple chores and things and maintenance on the boat and stuff like that. But as I say, it just so happens you very often get to do it in this sort of incredible rural environment, which, to be fair, is definitely a huge upside. And well, I cannot wait for some of the calmer middle of winter chilly frosty mornings to be hanging out of this window filming, saying, oh, I've got to go inside now because my nose is getting cold. Anyway, on with the jobs. I'm just procrastinating massively here. So we're currently stood in the kitchen, so we're as close to the engine as you can be when inside the boat. So obviously the noise is a lot louder here and you can feel some of the vibrations coming through the floor. And that's something that I'd say that's the only major downside about having to run the engine for batteries and warm water purposes. But to be fair, that's also why I get on with things like doing the washing up and sweeping the floor and that, rather than obviously sit here with the engine running trying to record videos normally with obviously this sound in the background. I'm going to get out there and clean these windows in just a moment as well. But I just wanted to point that out. That's probably the biggest sort of thing to say, oh yeah, if you've got solar panels and you don't have to run the engine, you're obviously not going to have this disruption in your day. Although, like you say, it's not as if I'm going to be running it for hours on end. Really, it depends on how much electricity and how warm I want the water to be, I suppose. So, onto the windows and prepare for some death-defying stunts here. So, cleaning the windows from the inside, pretty simple and straightforward. I'm just literally cleaning the windows, although I'm not doing the finest job of it because I'm under the pressure of being on camera as it happens. So, in just a moment, you're about to have your socks blown off, my friends, as we go down the outside of the boat, hanging over the perilous canal there, and, well, just lean down and clean the windows. Now, what I often do on the outside, because they can get really dirty with the stuff being just dirt being washed off the roof and down the windows and that, is take my brush out, dip the brush into the canal water just to really scrape away the worst of the dirt or any bird muck or anything of that nature. And again, then it's a simple case of getting the rags onto them and hoping that they will become nice and transparent and shiny and all the rest of what you would hope a window to be. And again, it's just one of those little humorous moments, of course, saying about these death-defying stunts. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't want to fall into the canal. I certainly wouldn't want to hit my head on the way down of falling into the canal, as that can lead to absolute disaster, even in shallow water like this. Now, here's something really exciting, and don't worry, we're not going to spend long on this. Obviously, sweeping the floors is a pretty simple, straightforward task. But you wouldn't believe how much rubbish and mud and bits of grass you can drag into a boat. And my theory is that because obviously if I went out and got muddy walking in and I lived in a town, by the time I'd walk back to my house, obviously I'd have been on tarmac and concrete and stuff for a while. Whereas obviously the boat doesn't have that buffer to get rid of some of the bits off your shoes, as you're literally stepping sometimes straight off a muddy towpath into the boat. So yeah, that's my excuse as to why there's so much mud when I was moored up at Blakemere a few days ago. So my friends, throughout this video I've tried to illustrate how so much of daily boat life can be completely average, completely mundane, and the sort of things that you'd be doing if you lived in a house, in a bungalow, in a flat, in a caravan, in a shoe, or any other sort of dwelling. Obviously the daily grind and daily chores. Now, there's one last thing I just remembered that I just want to point out here, and that is this scratch cover, the stern cover here. If I just gently try and pan the camera around, you can see we've got a pretty clean, very transparent front window there. But if we turn around and just peer through the back here, you can see it's not so transparent. And basically, because I always put this down when I'm travelling, it's so easy to forget because it's not something that I'm ever... it's not in the way until the other week when, unbelievably, I was just moving a few hundred feet down the canal. So I left the cover up, and it wasn't until after I started moving that I realised, oh, this is not very transparent at all. So I quickly dipped my brush into the canal and just wiped down the inside section, which only made matters worse. There's one thing that hasn't been mentioned in this video, and that, my friends, is the fireplace, which is what I always describe as the heart of the boat. However, that's only because there is already filmed, that just needs editing, a very specific fire-only video that will either be already on this channel or on the channel very soon after this video is posted, whichever one I get round to editing first, basically. So anyway, on that note, I'm simply going to wrap things up and say thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please do subscribe, help spread the word, hit the notification bell so that YouTube will hopefully tell you when I post a new video and all of that sort of stuff. Check the links in the description. You'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat and all sorts of other places, posting loads of boaty pictures and things from the great outdoors. If you want to help me out, then please do consider checking out my short books available for the Kindle, or as a handy little paperback, or quite a big paperback collection of some of my Kindle books. But really, until the next time, my friends, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a fantastic day. Keep it interesting, keep it boat worthy, and of course, my friends, farewell.